if you have any bullshit that you want to fucking pitch or whatever,
Hmm.
then that's fucking cool. Um, and then yeah, we'll just
Yeah.
fucking get into the meaty
You know,
shit.
this is my no notes, full unfiltered
That's
conversation.
exactly what we're looking for, to be frank. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Masculinity Matters. My name is Lomander. I am your host on this weird adventure that we're going to be going on. And today we are joined by Eddie.
Yes.
Eddie is a buddy of mine that we go to a metaphysical shop and are part of a group there. But I don't know why I'm trying to introduce the guy. Tell people
Yeah.
about yourself.
I'm Eddie. I'm in a class here at the metaphysical shop that Lomander works at, and I met I met him maybe like a year ago by now, but we hadn't really gotten much closer until more recent. Yeah, and he introduced me to the project and the idea of it, and I really liked it, and I was excited to be invited. So thank you.
So, what do you do? What is your claim to fame, or how you want people like? What do people associate with you?
Yeah. Obviously, I have to work a job, which is dog grooming. I do dog grooming. Um, I clip the hair. I don't love the job, but I love the dog, so it definitely helps. I want people to associate me with like openness, like
Yeah.
zen, positivity. But I think most see me as like an animal lover. Like, hey, I found this stray. Can you take it?
Oof.
Like all the time.
And
But
that's always like a really stressful thing
oh, of
because you
course.
want to help them, you want to help the animal, but then like we only have so much
There's
money.
a point.
We only have so much space.
There's a point where it just gets to be too much. You have to draw the line between like, can I take this on and actually deliver like a happy, healthy environment to this animal, or is it actually going to be detrimental to my life and
Exactly.
take away from it?
Yeah, no, it's definitely discernment, and that is something I fully have a fucking entire problem with.
Yeah,
So I totally get that.
you and me both.
So today we're just going to be covering a pretty base topic that I think is really important definitionally, and as further episodes go on, we will definitely be going over this with practically every guest that we have. So it's not really something that I think is too difficult to answer, or at least it shouldn't be, because definition def bleh, definition that's not even a fucking word.
Definitionally,
Thank
make
you.
it a word.
I was gonna say definitionarily. Anyway, I was gonna put airily in there for
Heard.
some
I
stupid
liked
fucking
it. I
reason.
like that.
Anyway, definitionally, it should be fairly easy to answer this question. But if there is one thing that I've learned over my 37 years on this planet, it is that sometimes the words that we all know the meaning of, nobody actually knows the definition of. So, Eddie, what is a man?
See, it's funny. Okay, I have I have a lot to get into with this
I am
already
sure.
off the bat. Um, so this is important context. I am transgender, so female to male, um, meaning I was born and treated, raised, however you want to say it, a girl.
Socialized is the word I
Socialized,
use.
yes, socialized as a girl, and so I have a specific insight. I studied it for quite some time. I had to, and half of that time, I wasn't even fully aware. I was like studying it and really peeling apart the layers of that question.
For sure.
But in short, I would say a man is someone who says they are a man. And I mean, that has a whole lot of nuance and a whole lot of specifics, but for me, that's the easiest way to approach that. If someone
Okay.
comes up to me and says, "I'm a man," I'll say, "Okay." I don't care what they
Cool,
look
dude.
like, how
Yeah.
they act. Yeah, I'm not gonna say why. Why are
Okay.
you a man? Um,
So, just as a curiosity question, and like the main reason for most of this content is to ask questions that other people are either refusing to ask or not comfortable asking. So I'm going to get into that today because I'm not trans, and I know as a socialized male, born male, cis male, there we go, that's the word we're looking for,
Heard.
and socialized male, that like I have no conceptualization of what it is like to like know something here, feel something here, but here doesn't actually fit with that. And I guess my first question that really sets the tone for me is what made you realize that you were on the wrong team?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good question. It it wasn't like, for me, I know some people experience this, but for me it wasn't like a snap of the finger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know, all of a sudden. It was a very slow process, but with big steps that I think I can point out. So like,
Okay, yeah.
I didn't even know what transgender was until like 8th grade when I met someone
Just for
who
clarity's sake, how old are you?
I'm 21, by the
21.
way.
Okay.
Yes. So, yes, so there was a lot of big steps involved in like figuring it out or like coming to terms with it. The first one was meeting my first ever transgender friend. I was going into 8th grade. It was summer camp, and he looked interesting.
Mm-hmm.
He did not look to be what I at the time considered a man,
Okay.
but was suggesting, "Hey, you should call me he. My name's Oliver." Okay. And
And like what about Oliver like made you think that they weren't a man? Like based off initial
yeah,
appearances.
initial appearances, I could tell that Oliver had a chest. I could tell that
Okay.
just those basic surface level,
So
what
like the
we believe.
physical
Yeah,
physical
precisely.
sex characteristics
Precisely.
that we
Yes.
associate with
Yes.
specific genders.
Right. And but Oliver had short hair. Oliver acted more like a young man would, I would say.
Okay.
Socialized young man.
Okay, yeah.
Very boisterous, loud, funny, a little obnoxious. So
I mean,
I
sounds like a typical eighth grade kid,
yes,
frankly.
precisely.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that was my first introduction to the topic at all. Um, and then I guess the major realization, I was probably 14. So this was the end of ninth grade for me.
Okay.
Um,
So, real quick, just because
mhm.
I know that one of the big things that a lot of people say about the transgender ideology or transgenderism or whatever is that it is something that is taught to you. It is
Right.
something that unless you're told about it, you won't know that it exists.
Yes.
And the question that I'm curious about is when you met Oliver and it was a situation where Oliver's like, call me he, I'm a
Hmm.
boy, blah, 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 blah.
Hmm.
Then, like, what is it? Did you realize at that point, whenever like you discovered that this was a thing that you could do, that you could transgress those gender norms and that sort of a thing? And do you feel like Oliver almost convinced you that that was something that you could do?
Yeah. And that argument to me is so circular
Mm-hmm.
because
That's
and
why
I'm sure
that's
you
why I
know,
like to bring
yeah,
it up.
and I'm sure you know why, but um it's a very circular argument because when you say, well, if you didn't know this existed
Mm-hmm.
and only after you knew it existed did you say it was you,
Mm-hmm.
labels are funny in that way where when you discover a new label and you go, oh it's
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. That's how I feel.
Okay.
So the feeling is there, but there's no way to
Name it.
name it, understand it, get to the bottom of it, or even research it. I didn't have access to the internet until like unmonitored access to the internet until like ninth grade when I got my first phone.
Okay. Fair.
So yeah, so I was fully like blank slate. I did come out as bisexual in 6th grade,
Mm-hmm.
so I was like 12, and that was like crazy in my school. My school was very like cis het normative, a lot of white kids, like very, uh, that was weird.
Where was that at? Like, you don't need to be specifics,
Midlothian,
but like
Texas,
you can say like
Lodunk, Texas. I'll say that.
like so kind of rural, or is it
Um,
more like city rural?
Rural turned suburban. It was like the
Okay.
beginning of the growth of a city. So it
Okay.
was like we weren't quite suburban yet, but we weren't rural either.
Okay.
But you
Okay.
know what I mean?
Yeah. So very. You could say that it was still we could say it's still hostile environment to
Yes.
like queer people and to anything that would be considered off mean or
Yes.
off normal.
Absolutely. Anything different was a little bit off-putting for everyone involved.
Okay.
But yeah, so having done that earlier and expecting myself to come out and it'd be this glamorous, beautiful thing, and I'd feel so much better,
Mhm.
and then realizing, I still feel weird. I
Yeah.
still feel very odd. I don't know why I cry every time I'm told to put a dress on, like just stuff like that, where it's like these things that we're told are for girls and for boys.
Mhm.
Me being a girl, looking like a girl, when I was a kid, and having to acknowledge that the things that I was supposed to like didn't interest me at all. Um, those feelings were there prior to understanding what being transgender was.
Yeah.
So, of course, when I discovered there was a label, I decided, okay, I'm going to look into that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't immediate either. I didn't start to fully approach it
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't think that was me, which is something else I want to get into later.
For sure.
But once I did, of course, I realized, okay, yeah, this fits kind of how I'm feeling. And there was a lot after realizing that I was transgender in some way, shape, or form. There was still more to the journey. I still needed to figure out exactly how, in what way, and
Okay.
what a man was to me.
Yeah, no, for sure. So to go back to like you said that you had came out as bisexual
Mm-hmm.
and like living socially as a girl at that point, correct?
Yes,
Okay, so I'm just going to use woman man.
that's totally
I
fine.
recognize that like the age thing
Yes.
is a little weird with those terminologies, but so living as a woman, like what was it about the like you had said that like why do I cry every time that they make me wear a dress?
Yeah.
Like what was it about the socialization of woman that was so I mean, I guess traumatic for you.
Yeah. That's a hard one because, and I do think that being brought up a woman,
Mm-hmm.
there are levels of trauma.
Oh yeah.
There are certain things you're told that maybe you shouldn't be. I mean, I
Can you
understand
give me an
it, but
example of
oh
what you're
yeah,
talking about?
like
Being
how to not
socialized.
get like
Okay.
stuff like that, like
Okay. No, that's fair.
stuff of that nature, where it's like the society we live in, unfortunately, that is a real reality, and a lot
Yeah,
of
the
girls
over
have that.
sexualization of women
Mm-hmm.
is very prevalent, and like we've all heard the story of the creepy uncle and shit like that. Like don't go near, don't hang out near Uncle Bob after he's had a couple of drinks because he gets fucking weird or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And like and so I know that that's an aspect of it, for sure. But it's like when I think of like the socialization of like having to, which one it's super weird that like parents in general are like you have to wear these specific clothes when like at the end of the day men and women wear pants all the fucking time. Like
It's really not that big of a
yeah,
thing.
like it's really not huge. So like but at the same time, let's be honest fellas, if somebody put you in a fucking dress, you probably wouldn't be too fucking pleased with it.
Enforce that, yeah.
Yeah, so like what were the situations where like that was something that was being forced?
Yeah.
Was it maybe like what am I thinking? Formal situations?
Definitely formal situations. I was definitely told that if I didn't get in the fucking pool and swim, that I needed to stop moping and pouting and crying
Mm.
because I had to put my bathing suit on.
Yeah.
And I did develop somewhat earlier in life, so by like 5th grade I was there.
Yeah.
So even then, as a little kid, I was looking in a way that I didn't necessarily enjoy. And I would like to point out this is me specifically. I don't know if other people have felt this way, but I was not bothered by my body necessarily.
Yeah.
I was bothered by how I was told to use it. How I was told to So when I would be, and this is another reason it took me so long to figure out what type of transgender or like different gender ideology I felt, because my little boobies didn't hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
It was the fact that those little boobies made me a woman to people, and I think that
It's
brings up
because
the
people
social
treated you
nuance.
different because you had them
Similar,
basically.
yeah, basically, and that also brings me to the idea of like there are cultures where if you're trans, they don't feel the need to change their bodies
Yeah.
because they're just accepted right then and there, and
Mm.
that social aspect of gender is not a huge deal. But
Yeah.
in this country, in this society, the way you look immediately translates to what you identify as.
Okay.
So, and I think that caused a lot of like turmoil within me as a kid,
For
having to
sure.
put my bathing suits on to go swimming, or having to wear dresses to formal occasions, weddings, after school events and stuff of that nature.
So, do you feel like if, let's say, you were in a society where it was completely accepted and all that, do you feel like you would go through with any like changes in that way? I don't know if you have or haven't.
Yes, I
So,
have.
okay.
I've gotten top surgery. I've been on testosterone since October of 2022.
Mm.
So it's been time.
But like, would you have done that
Yeah,
if you were in a society where that wasn't as big of a deal?
and that's what's hard because I can't even picture that.
Yeah.
To me,
No,
I
that's
immediately
fair.
want to say no. Or yes, I would have gone through and gotten my surgeries and gotten my testosterone. But I can't even comprehend that.
Hmm.
I can't comprehend a society where
Where like that would be okay.
that would be okay, appreciated, and fine.
Yeah.
Or even where because I still felt that this like I still have dysphoria. I still and I hate that I have dysphoria, but I still feel oh my voice sounded light in that conversation. Stupid stuff like that
Yeah.
people don't even think about. But
As somebody with a little bit of a higher pitched voice
yeah,
because of my accent,
yeah,
being from the Panhandle, we have a little bit higher range
that
than
Texas
some of our
twang.
lower state compatriots. So I still got the twang, but I sound a lot more like Dale Gribble than I do Hank Hill. So like I can definitely kind of get that because like
Yes,
even in my socialization,
yes,
the fact that I had a higher register
hmm,
was something that would constantly get me shit
yeah, and be
because
brought up and
yeah,
ostracized.
exactly,
Yeah,
and I had my dad looked a lot like early 2000s late 90s Travis Tritt whenever
hmm,
he was like long haired and all that.
hmm.
So I, of course, wanting to emulate my father, also had long hair. You combine being a little fat kid with long hair and a higher register, I got called bitch tits a lot.
Oh
I
my
got
god.
called the F slur
Yeah,
more times than I want to admit.
yeah.
There was a lot of like feminine pronouns and stuff like that, and like feminine like
Immediately
yeah,
before
like
even getting to
thrown
know
at
you.
me and
Yeah,
shit like that as an insult.
yeah,
And like I think that's one of the socializations of being like man that like I think we really don't recognize is that in general, as a young boy growing up in rural Texas, if I was ever referred to by anything that was considered feminine, that was an insult.
yep,
So the idea of like being socialized as a woman when you know that like that's not who you are,
yeah,
then with the and you grew up in Texas too,
yeah.
so and I can guarantee it was the same down here as it was up there. So it's one of those like those things could also be considered insulting because it's like this is not the person that I am, but people are still applying that to you.
Right. And I think it's definitely at a from a different angle.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think young boys are taught throughout their childhood and that girls are like anything feminine, like you said, is a negative.
Yeah,
You don't want to become that. And I think I'm gonna tie something else in here.
for sure.
I hope it's not too wordy, but I think like there's a level of misogyny
Mm-hmm.
in male socialization that's normal and
Yes.
that's just immediately applied, and that happens within the trans circle as well. Like um when what I've noticed, and I think what I've kind of had discourse with people online and in person, is that when you're female to male, um, the way you're approached about it is more like you're just a dumb girl. Like you're just a dumb little girl and you don't know. You just don't know.
Mm,
But when you're male to female, people are violent.
yes,
People are literally killing people over it. And I'm not, there's always outliers on both
for
sides,
sure.
but like it is treated so much more violently
Yeah,
because how dare you as a man, as the better gender, want to transition to a woman or something more feminine.
exactly. And there was a I can't remember the study now, but there was a study that whenever they were looking at trans violence, that yes, that like men to women was considered 10 times more
It's
dangerous than
so
going
bad.
female to male. But the thing that I think is really telling about that is we put so much emphasis on how men are supposed to lead,
Hmm.
and then whenever you combine that with the West's obsession with individualism and with
Yeah.
like making sure that like you carve your own path and that sort of a thing, then as you look at like societal implications of, well, why, like you say, why would you want to become the weaker sex?
Right.
But what that does is that flies in the face of like Western ideals. Whenever we look at we always want to succeed, we always want to be better, we want to advance and shit like that. And when you're taking yourself from the position of relative power that being a man applies to us in society, Western society specifically, um, whenever we take that and the we're at the top of the food chain and we are supposedly choosing to lower ourselves down to a different to a quote unquote lower or weaker level, then that flies in the face of what we as the West believe to be natural, correct, and right.
Right.
And I think that that's an aspect that a lot of people don't really talk about enough, is that we're socialized to think that at the top of the food chain is, especially here in America, is a white man.
Hmm.
And if you're a different race and still a man, then you are at the top of whatever social hierarchy exists within your race. And then outside of the racial aspect, then you are still considered like, in
Still a
America,
man.
white man is top, and then like ethnic man is lower, is second, and then like women is below everybody else.
Right.
And then of course with ethnicities it continues to cycle down as our, you know, system places them in whatever arbitrary way they decide to do that. But at the end of the day, just by, I mean, honestly, genetic lottery, if you think about it, you are considered top of the food chain when you are a man. So like the idea, utilizing that framework,
Hmm.
the idea of a woman wanting to become a man makes sense,
Right.
because it's like you are pulling yourself out from a compromised position into a position of power.
Right.
But then the idea of taking that position of power to become something more of a more compromised position, and frankly a much more dangerous position,
Yeah.
to me feels like it's a hell of a lot tougher and a
Hmm.
hell of a lot stronger. But then because society is the way that it is, it's a thousand, and that's why it's tougher and stronger, is because society makes it 1,000 times more dangerous.
Yeah.
Was that something that you were worried about? Like, I know that technically your transition was, you know, the way that makes sense to
Right.
Western society, but like, were you worried about violence? Because I know in Texas that's a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me initially, I was worried. I thought that people would be hateful, just typical bigotry.
Yeah,
And
the typical version.
the typical bigotry, But honestly, I was not, I was bullied, of course, but I
Yeah.
mean that comes with it. But there was not, I have not ever been ostracized, especially since passing. I was hit on so many times as a obvious minor girl,
Mhm.
but 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 the second I'm a man, no one has anything to say to me. The second that I look the part, because
Mhm.
obviously there was an awkward middle area where
Yeah.
I was transitioning and I didn't quite pass, meaning I didn't look like a cisgender man. And passing is never my goal. I really don't care
Yeah.
at this point in time, but at the time that made me feel uncomfortable. I
Yeah.
wasn't quite sure, do I go to the women's restroom with my little fuzz mustache or do I like go to the men's? And usually what it boiled down to was just keeping my head down and not really interacting with people.
Don't make waves.
Don't make waves.
Yeah.
And I was safe, and I can say that I didn't feel safe all the time, and I had to be very careful where I chose to use the restroom or where I chose to just exist.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, I still feel like I faced pretty like medial levels of
Of
bigotry.
hatred and bigotry.
Yeah.
One thing that you had said earlier was that passing is never your goal.
Right.
And like with that being the case, I know that there are some people out there, because it comes into my mind as who I am and where I was raised. Why go through with everything then?
Right. That's a really good question, and I'm still honestly trying to figure a little bit of that out myself.
Yeah.
Why do I feel the need to um, do all this if passing isn't the goal? And the ultimate answer I have, like that I've kind of come up with for myself and for this specific question, is that I am doing it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And for me specifically, passing is about external forces and how they perceive me
Yeah.
and how they it's based off me altering my body so that other people get it right.
Okay.
But at this point, I want to do things to my body for my personal perception of it.
Okay.
So I got top surgery because I didn't like the way shirts looked on me.
Fair.
Because I wasn't going to spend that much money because of what other people thought.
Okay.
And the the hardest part with that is trying to figure out, is this feeling coming from external forces or internal forces?
Yeah.
And that took a lot of like meditation and picturing myself in an empty room that's completely dark, and how do I feel? How do I feel if no one's around?
Yeah.
Do
If
I
it's
like
just
this?
you by
Exactly.
yourself, what do I want
Exactly.
my body to
Exactly. I personally don't plan on getting bottom surgery
be?
at
Okay.
this point in time,
Yeah.
unless my mind changes in the future, and it's subject to change
Of
all the
course. Of
time.
course. Yeah.
But
We're human
like,
beings.
yes, but there are certain aspects of my body that I had to really, really, really pick apart. And the reason that I did that is because my father was so against everything trans.
Why?
Because to him it's a fallacy. It's not real. He doesn't even accept the idea that that is reality. He thinks that trans people are sick
Okay.
or
In
are
what way?
mentally ill.
Does he believe that it's like a mental illness, or does he believe that it's like, well, because
He thinks it's coercion. He thinks
okay.
it starts with mental illness, and then you go to a therapist, and the therapist coerces you into being transgender. So that's what happened to me in his mind.
Okay.
I had to fight with that woman to like get her to believe me. And when she did, she was cool about it. But she really, it's not like that. I'm just saying.
No, well, and like, I mean, at the same time, though, I think that like that's kind of a therapist's job,
Right.
is to challenge you on
Exactly.
this thing that is a life changing thought that you are
Precisely.
having about yourself, and that could potentially lead to a more dangerous outcome. I mean, I would feel like if a therapist isn't challenging you on that at least a little bit, they're not
Right.
doing their job.
And that's what the medical team that you get involved in your journey, if
Mm-hmm.
you do decide to do medical stuff, that's why they're so important, and they
Yeah,
need to be uncompromised.
exactly. So kind of going back to your dad a little bit. Is he somebody? So a lot of the arguments that I have heard against transgender people and that sort of thing are all Christian based. They
Mm.
are all religious based, and they come from this idea of a natural order, which, if anybody knows anything about nature, there's not a natural order to shit. But according to a lot of monotheistic doctrine, there is a natural order that God has laid out.
Right.
And like, was that his kind of viewpoint, or was he just like a I don't know, a fucking atheist who was agreeing with Christianity?
Yeah. Um my father is he was raised Catholic,
Mm,
and if he did
okay.
anything right, it was not forcing my involvement in the church.
Okay.
So he was super. He obviously would say, "Okay, well, you should pray about that to God," and but he was very big on that's your personal journey. You cannot force someone into religion, which is kind of,
Okay.
isn't it kind of odd?
Like that's pretty.
Right,
That's
that's
pretty baller,
badass.
as especially
Yeah,
from a Catholic.
right.
But like, it's your personal journey with God, but your fucking body, you motherfucker.
But that's not yours to change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's.
yeah. He
I would love to
definitely.
see the mental gymnastics that
I'm
that man does to
telling
do
you.
that. Yeah, because that's a wild.
Yes.
It's a wild conceptualization.
Yes. I think a lot of his opinion with it was just his southern, you know, blue blood or red blood, whatever.
So I wonder though, do you think it may be? I mean, we have that. We talked about the like
Mm-hmm.
Western socialization of like hierarchy and all that, but which does have a name that we're not going to mention because I Um, but like we mentioned all that. Like how did he try and tell you like what like his justification for it? Like what was his justification behind that? Like what were the mental gymnastics that he was trying to take?
And I'm still trying to figure that out myself. My dad's still alive. I'm speaking in third or past
Past
tense
tense.
because he decided he didn't want a relationship with me.
He decided that.
Yes. I told him
Does he tell other people that he decided that?
I don't know.
I wonder because
I feel like he's got like at least his wife knows. Like my
Yeah.
stepmom, she's got to know. But yeah, I really don't know. I really don't know.
I do wonder because like a lot of parents of trans people, especially the ones that I've met, always say that they don't want a relationship with me. And whenever I actually talk to trans people who have parents that don't talk to them, it always seems like it's the parents' choice to not to cut people off.
Oh, I see what you're asking.
And yeah, it's like
yeah, I mean, he definitely. So I did not tell him I was getting top surgery.
mm-hmm. Oh, so it was just a surprise.
Yeah, because I was
Baller.
I was on
Straight up baller.
Look, I was he saw me one day and saw me without him the next.
That's fucking
I'll tell
hilarious.
you what. So yeah, he I was on his insurance and I thought, you know what? If I tell him, I run a very strong risk of him removing me from it simply to keep me from
doing it. Yeah.
Right. And so, and I was also scheduled to get it during open enrollment, which I don't know if anyone that isn't from the United States. Basically, your insurance policy is subject to change from like I think like November to like January or February.
Yeah, it depends on the company, but
right.
Most is like late November, early December.
So I didn't want him to pull the rug for me when I was like healing from top surgery.
For sure.
So I didn't tell him.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I'm covering the whole family deductible. I mean, I'm helping them out.
Exactly.
And like getting what I need done.
Yeah, you're making it to where at the beginning of the year, you're doing all of this shit,
exactly.
Getting rid of all the deductibles, and every medical bill after that's free.
Exactly. And then
if anything, Daddy's doing you a favor.
Fuck, for real. Jesus. So yeah, so basically once I did that, he had seen the thing with it is we would tiptoe around it. And if there's anything I regret, it's not being a bitch about my identity to them. And I don't mean in a way where I'm like, well, you have to call me this, but being like, no, I mean, I'm trans, just
repeating it,
and understanding that they understand that I'm not stupid, I'm not crazy, and I'm not sneaking because it's wrong.
Yeah.
I was sneaking because I didn't feel safe sharing that part of my identity with them.
Yeah, which like to me, if you're even like half of a decent parent in my mind, like the idea of your kid not feeling safe to share something that important to them is a failing on your part, like as the parent.
Something went wrong along that line.
Yeah, because like speaking as somebody whose parents definitely wouldn't have been accepting if I would have had any non-cis het bullshit in my fucking early days. Like that's a real fear that I think that a lot of people like don't really talk about, is the idea of like, will my parents just like fuck me over because I'm making a personal decision about myself?
Right.
And like, yeah, the more that I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, like what would have happened if I would have come out as queer back in the day? If I would have said that I was gay, or if I would have said that I was bi, or if God forbid, if I would have said I was fucking trans. Yeah. Like what would my fucking 80-year-old grandmother and grandfather say?
Probably keel over and die. I mean,
shit, I might need to send them.
The brain's turning.
Inheritance, baby. I joke. We don't have money. But like what, and like my dad's gone now, so and like our relationship was absolute bullshit ever since he called me an F-slur when I was 17 because I dyed my hair red.
Wow, how dare!
I'm telling you,
how dare!
Like, and the bad part is it was like a bright red too. Yeah, like it wasn't like pink. It wasn't like
purple. It was like boy red.
It was like it was blood red, and like everybody that I talked to, because I got like the center stripe because I had like long hair here, and I did like the center stripe, the fucking bangs that I had that went down in front of my face, and then like the tips of the rest of my hair. Whenever people would look at me, they said that I looked like somebody hit me in the head with an axe.
That's badass.
That they just like hit me right there, and then I was bleeding down the front, and I was like, fucking perfect.
Yeah.
I started tying my hair back there, like leaving the red in front, so it looked like I had like blood. It was fucking cool as shit, Dad. You fuck. Anyway.
And then you got called an F slur.
Yeah.
Just simply because you decided to
change my
beat
fucking
the path.
hair.
Just beat the path by dyeing your hair red.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I continued to dye my hair after that, specifically because it pissed him off.
That's your job as a son.
Because it was one of those things where it's like it grows back. I could cut it. Like if I wanted to, I could just shave my entire head off and it wouldn't be a problem. So like it was a very low impact, low effort, frankly low risk situation that I could like buck the system a little bit and see what happened. Like that was my punk rock moment and whenever I was 17.
Yes.
And like taking that and just ramping it up to 11 by then incorporating parts of my own specific identity into that. It does make me wonder, like, how would he have reacted to that?
And it is difficult. It is difficult to try and figure out kind of what and that's a lot of the reason that I see my dad. Going back to the original "what is a man" question, my dad was very respect based, authoritarian.
Mm-hmm.
Really,
he was the one in charge.
He was the one in charge, and if you had anything to say about that, you'd be on the floor.
Oh,
and
okay.
that was my father.
Mm.
And so, growing up in a house like that, it makes you meager and weak, and it makes you not want to speak up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everyone, girls, boys, his own wife, I mean, everyone involved was afraid of him. And to him, that meant respect.
Yeah.
But
it meant that he had power.
It meant that he had power, and that's his version of respect. See, respect to me, and my version of respect as a man, is you earn that.
Yeah.
You gain trust. You take time with people, and you develop that bond.
Mm-hmm.
And when you respect someone, they'll respect you in return. And if they don't, that's on them, and you move away.
Yeah.
You move along.
See, and like for me, my socialization was everybody gets respect to start.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have proven that you are unworthy of that,
mm-hmm.
then that is where my respect for you ends. And that was one of the things that like was really ingrained in me was like you treat every single person that you come into contact with the same amount of respect that you would want them to treat you with initially. It's the golden rule or whatever.
Right.
Treat people how you would want to be treated. But I always took that a step further and was like, I always try to treat people better than I want to be treated because I recognize people are always going to do less than what you expect and less than what you think. And if they're following the golden rule and they're treating me the way that they want to be treated and I'm treating them better, then all we can do is just try and one up each other over the course of time.
Right. Does that work out that way?
No, never. not even a quarter of the time.
Yeah.
Let's just be 100% a buck here. Yeah, no, it never works out that way. But I feel good about myself because I know that I've come into that situation in a respectful way.
Absolutely.
And that the problem isn't with them, or the problem is with them, not with me.
Absolutely.
So yeah, like so you say your father doesn't really. Do you talk to anybody else in your family?
Yeah, so my mother's side, they're a lot
divorced,
more
I'm guessing.
Yeah,
okay.
They divorced when I was like 2.
Oh,
so I don't.
Okay, so single digit baby divorces. Yeah. Common ground.
And apparently, from what I've heard, it's good that they divorced when I was so young.
Yeah,
I didn't want to be around that.
Did you have to deal with the like the parent hostage exchange?
Oh my god, we were on 50-50.
Oh fuck.
So.
God, I was lucky that I only had to do 35 days in one place. Oh my god,
dude, it was rough.
My god, she was gonna get her 35 motherfucking days. Oh. And the funny thing about that is that was actually like a huge contention between them, because she never wanted her time because she wanted to spend time with me.
Oh,
she only ever wanted her time because that's what the court said was her legal right, and she didn't want my dad to have that time.
She was gonna get her 35
I'm
fucking
fucking
days.
telling you. So like, how did that work during like your transitionary period and shit?
Oh man, it was like night and day, I would say. So whenever I originally came out at like, I told my mom when I was 15
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted her to get me a haircut. And she was like, "Why do you want your hair to be so short?" And I was like, "Well, mother, I have something to tell you." She was super like, "I don't really know what that means, but I'm here for you. I'm willing to
So
figure it
so
out with you."
you did have like those
Oh,
supportive elements for sure.
absolutely, and I don't think I would have been in the same place if it wasn't for her specifically.
Yeah.
That whole side of my family is a lot more accepting. Of course, they have their little like microaggressions, but I don't really. It's different from them because I know at the end of the day they respect it,
Yeah.
and so to
It's
go
less, the
from
microaggressions are less out of malice and more out of ignorance, probably.
ignorance and I would say fear of my health and that sort of thing.
Ah,
Like
okay.
my one of my aunts is convinced that me being on hormones is gonna like cut my life short early, and I was like, maybe like male heart issues
Is there
will, but
any
like
evidence for that?
no.
Yeah, like,
No, there was one study done,
okay.
and the people that studied it, I believe, if I don't remember the study, don't quote me on this, but I believe were like lobbying or
Okay.
like lobbied anti-trans. So
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah. So it's similar to a lot of the studies that we
right,
see around like
yeah.
outcomes for trans people that
And at the end of the
are
day,
biased.
if I die 10 years earlier, but I get to live right now and have, if I live 60 years, I'm gonna be happy. I don't
Yeah.
care. I don't need to live 80 years if I'm just gonna be unhappy.
Exactly, and I think that at the end of the day, like that's really the point of being human
Yeah.
is like we try to give all of these like lofty like desires and lofty like goals that we have as human
Mm-hmm.
beings, but at the end of the day, like all we're supposed to do on this planet is just live in the best way that we can. And I mean, frankly, like whenever you think about the histories that people have, like I don't know what your ancestral history is and all that kind of shit, but I know that like my ancestors at the very least were always trying to strive to make it to where the next generation had it easier and the next generation could live happier. So the idea of you being able to live a life like, and of course they always wanted their kids to live longer. I get that. But at the same time, like I know that like my ancestors would much rather me live in whatever way I want to and be happy than to live 15, 20 extra years being fucking miserable.
Right.
So
Precisely.
we did talk about the way that your family was and all of that kind of stuff, but one of the things that, because we're both like ADHD as fuck and we get super far afield of what we're actually supposed to be talking
A
about.
roundabout conversation.
Um, I've realized that like at the end of the day, like what makes this preferable to
Right.
like what you were.
Right. I would say that to understand yourself it's so complicated,
Yeah,
and there's so many um, convolutions, and I don't even know if that's the right
it is.
word, but that people apply to you or force onto you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that really it's such a tedious process trying to pick apart preference,
Mm-hmm.
personal preference especially. Um, but ultimately, I just realized that my comfort internally
Mm-hmm.
um, comes from how I present and how I match my external to fit my internal, and going beyond just like the look of it, because that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking more of the emotional aspects of being a man, of understanding what that is to every individual.
And what does that mean for you? Like
I mean,
what is being a man to you? What does that mean?
yeah, I think being a man involves a lot of um, tuning into yourself and
Okay.
coming to understand who you are. I think that if you are the type of person to separate your emotions from reality and to separate like your inner feelings, your inner thoughts completely from yourself
Mm-hmm.
and not indulge them at all, or not at least pick them apart, you tend to be really repressed, and you tend to be very like stuck in a pattern. And I noticed that I was stuck in that pattern of anger, and what was parroted, or what was my example, which was my father,
Yeah.
who was a super authoritarian, angry, and quite frankly just boring man. I mean, he he had interests, he had hobbies, but his personality was the bone of what it could have been.
Yeah. Why do you
So
think that is?
because of him repressing himself, because he had plenty of emotions. I'm sure at one point he's fully fine with gay people. I mean, he says or the F word, but like he's his favorite cousin was gay. He tells me that when I came out as bi, he did not care.
Yeah.
He I thought he would, so I didn't tell him for years. And when he forced it out of me, he was like, "And I don't care. I don't care who you like. You can like who you like. I don't care if your brother likes a boy. Neither." He was. He's such a confusing example because
Yeah.
he is great in some ways and horrible in others. But his repression and his inability to accept nuance in situations,
Yeah.
or to have open conversations because you're back talking or you are disrespecting him.
Yeah.
It has like chipped away at him. And I did notice within the past 10 or so years, he's mellowed out a lot with age. He has grandkids now.
How old is he?
He is 50. He was born in 69.
69. So yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He's like 50 something. Or
Math is math. I'm not going to try and
something, you
figure
know
it
what I
out.
mean? But yeah, so he's an older man, but he's definitely mellowed out with age. But this is the one thing that he couldn't get his head
Just
around.
the bridge that he can't cross.
Exactly.
And I wonder why that is.
I
Like,
know.
like what is it about?
He thinks that I'm killing his daughter, and that's something that I really have initially telling me that it caused a defensive reaction because
Yeah.
I am his daughter. You know, I that is literally who I am. I'm just your son now.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not hard to understand. But I've really tried to, within the past year or so, come to terms with his grief, because he's allowed to feel grief.
Well, 100%.
He's allowed to be scared for me.
Mhm.
The way he presents that's not okay.
Okay.
But the way that he feels that, I am of the belief that everyone's feelings are valid. It's the reaction you have to those feelings. So to be a man,
The way that you process them and externalize them.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so to be a man, a good man, I think involves a lot of foresight. It involves a lot of acknowledging your limits, figuring out when you can or can't talk about something so you don't end up yelling at someone and scaring them.
Mhm.
I notice a lot when if I get to a point where I'm raising my voice, my mom's reaction is very different now, because I'm not a little girl.
Yeah.
I'm a man now. And it
Yeah.
does scare her more. So it's really seeing the change has almost, I think, helped me become a better man, because
It made you more cognizant of it for sure.
absolutely. And when I approach, women in public, when as a girl, it's completely different. There's this almost sort of like sisterhood.
Yeah.
It just immediately, because at the end of the day, women are victims just for existing, just for being alive. So when you become a man, you have to realize, or I had to realize, that I'm scary now. I'm a part of that that predation.
Yeah.
Just inherently.
You're a example of that predation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not because I've done anything, but because
You physically present that way.
Exactly.
It's kind of like the old thing that they came up with, like, regardless of whether or not the bear is friendly, you're still beating a fucking bear in the woods.
Right.
And like, regardless of whether or not you know that it's not going to attack you, it still has that chance. It still has that potential to.
Absolutely.
And like, honestly, I don't blame any women whatsoever who like have that level of caution.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, not I almost like over specified that. When you cannot tell who is and isn't, you have to assume everyone is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like understanding that fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's helped me know how to deal with it better.
I can imagine.
And I mean, I'm a victim of sexual SA. So and that is a very prevalent. I will tell you that almost every single friend that I had growing up had at least been touched in school. It's a lot more people than you think. These girls that didn't even know that wasn't okay.
Yeah, no, and that's I had a similar conversation with somebody that I knew in my past. That's what we'll call them. Where like they were sitting there explaining, and like we were talking about our histories and our childhoods and stuff like that, and one of the things that like she had mentioned was something that had happened to her, that in her mind was just like, you know, it was reality. It was almost like a not a funny anecdote, but like it was almost just like oh yeah, you know, and then this happened, blah blah blah, and then I kind of was like, wait, so hold on real quick.
Pause.
What did you say was there? And then like whenever she went into details about it, I was like, dude, that's not okay, man.
Right.
And like it blew her mind that it was like, wait, that's not a thing. And I was like, no, dude, that's not what fucking parents are supposed to do, bud. Like
hey.
Yeah, so like one if you're comfortable with it, like was that assault pre or post?
That was, so I had like I said earlier, it was a journey. So I had a period of time where a lot of the doubt from my family on my dad's side made me worried, and I wanted to experiment with my expression. So I started to present a lot more feminine around the age of 18. I tried like non-binary in terms like that. I tried every pronoun because I really, if I was going to make the decision to be trans, sure about I wanted to be sure.
Yeah.
And so I would,
which is a very common story for most trans people.
We trust, we dig. I mean, they're like the outliers or detransitioners and such. But look, if they're making it about
statistically, detransitioners do not matter. No. Like in a statistical, once you look at the statistics of it, it is so low that they are statistically insignificant.
Yeah. And yet they're like some of the loudest. Never mind. That's a whole other story.
The only reason they are is because they're platformed by people who have an active.
Tell them.
Yeah, no, it's they're platformed by the people who actively are trying to make trans people disappear.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, it's very similar to a certain group of Yahtzee players back in the 30s. Whenever you are a minority group that joins with a majority oppressor, it is only a matter of time before you get sacrificed at the altar of oppression, because once they've gone through everyone else who is fighting against them, they will then turn on the people who fought for them.
Yep. Yeah, but it was a whole thing. So I ended up. Wait, what was the question?
Whether or not your essay was before or after.
Oh yeah, so that was when I was presenting more feminine.
Yeah,
which is interesting. And this was a guy that was like, yeah, I'm straight, but honestly, I might be pan. And then it was because of my presentation, that sort of situation. And the hardest thing with like essay during high school and child-on-child essay, a lot of the time, the person that like commits it doesn't even understand or fully comprehend.
They can't comprehend the weight of what exactly they did.
Yeah, and I think every single time that I was touched by a kid, it was non-consensual, obviously.
Yeah.
But the unfortunate reality is that those boys weren't even taught what that means.
Yeah, or like how to approach that. They didn't understand that what they were doing was crossing a boundary.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and I think that honestly that speaks to a lack of education that happens in boys' socialization in general, but like especially specifically in the South.
Yes.
And you know, you were in a rural moving to suburban area. But like speaking as somebody from rural Texas, and when I say rural Texas, we're 500 people in a half a mile square. Like, like it's we tiny.
Yeah.
But like that is not something, like I was never taught really about consent.
Yeah.
Like consent was never a thing that was ever brought up. Whenever like anything like grape or anything like SA or anything like that, if it happened whenever I was a child, I never heard about it. But after I became an adult, I found out it was extremely prevalent in even the girls in my class.
Wow.
And like one of the things that I think is really interesting is that being socialized woman, like you're consistently fed that
Yeah.
from as early. I'm gonna make a really crass comment here. As early as that hole is accessible,
literally,
you have to be told that effectively you have to protect it. You have to you have to be prepared for people
and
are
that
going
comes
to
with purity culture. That comes with a lot of putrid examples of that. And some of these, it is. I am in no way saying that you shouldn't talk to your young child, boy or girl, because boys get assaulted a lot too, and it
happens a hell of a lot more than we talk about.
Way more, and they often don't feel like they can talk about it either because they don't even have the conversation.
Well, at the end of the day, like and I can only speak from my experience, but I'm sure that a lot of other like socialized men will say the same thing, that like that's shameful.
Right.
If somebody is able to take advantage of you in that way, like that is something that you have brought upon yourself. That is something that you should have been able to defend yourself. I mean, there was
it's just sick.
Yeah, no, it's fucking disgusting. And like, I remember in my town, we had one queer kid that everybody like, and when I say we had one, eventually we found out there was like 6, but whenever we had one, they were openly living that way. They weren't openly living that way, but it's kind of one of those like
can't hide it too much.
I'm gonna use I don't know. Tell me if this is a bad way to present this, but like you could tell.
Yeah.
And this kid was great, like super nice guy, really cool dude. I as somebody who was ostracized for being who I was, I never hung out with them because like I don't need that extra shit on my plate. Because I'm already trying to fight I'm already trying to fight the accusations. I don't need further. But I'm already trying to fight the allegations. So like I don't need extra ammo for the bullies to throw shit my way.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I found really interesting was that one of the most masculine people in our entire town, or in our entire like age range of, and I went to kindergarten with this dude. And when I say like quintessential masculine, like 6'3" at 16 years old, like kind of a buffer dude. He was a cowboy type, had a fucking square jaw, like Henry Cavill would be jealous of this guy as a kid. And like this is like the quintessential like dude.
Yeah.
Bully, obviously. And I remember as a kid, we were sneaking around, like being nosy little fucks, because that's what boys do in small towns. And one of the things we did is we went by the queer kid's house because we saw that there was a couple of extra cars in the driveway, and like the friend that I was with, like we were I think it was like his cousin. So we were planning on going over there to like hang out. It was like 2 a.m. because what the fuck else are you going to do in a small town of 500 people? And we were just going to go over there, saw the lights were on, saw there was a couple cars in the drive, so we figured he had friends over. We go up to his window and like we hear music playing, like louder than it probably should be for 2 a.m. And we kind of looked at the driveway again. It's like, oh, his mom's car's not here. Whose pickup is that? That's weird. So then we go around and like we're not going to knock on the door because we don't want to wake his mom up. So like we go around to his window. And because we're nosy little fucks, we're not gonna like knock on the window immediately. We're just gonna see what's going on, see if we want to mess with what's going on. And I remember looking through the blinds and seeing this quintessential like man's man on his knees. Just, I recognize now, throating that motherfucker like nobody's business. And like
he'd been doing that
100%. Like homie had some practice already. And I thought that, and like that completely fucking threw me for a loop.
Because in your head, that wasn't even possible.
Exactly.
A man like that could even be gay.
Could even consider that.
Because gay is feminine. Like,
exactly.
Gay is bad and wrong and all these negative
100%
things people attribute to femininity. Yeah.
And then like the interesting thing about that is that we saw that. And we kind of put it together that it was like, oh, okay, so this is something that like blah, 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 blah. And then we moved on. But then when I told, I don't remember if it was my dad or if it was maybe his dad. Anyway, it was somebody's father.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of just remembering these details as I'm talking about it. But I remember we told somebody's father, and the first thing that he said was that this other guy was coerced.
What other guy? Oh, the macho guy?
The manly man was coerced. And that he never would have done something like that if this other person hadn't like convinced him to do that. And then because of that, it automatically like turned that into like, well, this is one, it's a shameful thing. And then two, every queer person is always going to try to like
that predatory
get you.
Yeah.
And because of that, that was a justification for why we treated that queer kid the way we did.
Right.
Because at any given time, he's going to try to take your butthole.
Yeah.
And
he had never done anything like that before.
Not even fucking remotely.
Yeah.
I have since learned that like...
Was it assault or do you think it was?
No, okay. I guarantee you it wasn't. Like, nothing, I'm not trying, and if the person who I'm talking about watches this, I'm hoping that they don't like get offended by this in any way.
No,
but if they do watch this, like, I don't mean this insultingly. I'm in kink. They are such a subby person. Really? There is no way
that they were just like trying.
They were not convincing anybody. Yeah. Like if Homeboy was doing that, it was his idea. Because there's no way that this person would have ever like pitched it.
Republicans crashing Grindr and stuff. It's the repression, I'm telling you.
No, and you're absolutely, and that right there is one of the things, because like when we brought that up as to this male figure, it immediately, like, the conversation, there was almost like a wall that was immediately put up.
Because that's just not something
we don't talk about that.
Yeah,
we don't talk about these things. These are not things that we discuss because it's unnatural, because it's blah blah blah, whatever else. And then that kind of, like, I realize now as like an adult that like that also was part of the reason why we never talked about any of the essays that happened in our town.
Yeah. And
like they happened regardless of whether we want to admit it or not.
Yeah.
And the bad part about it is, to some of the girls that those things happened to, they were treated as if, again, it was their fault.
Right.
And that, like, you know, well, what the fucking bullshit, what were you wearing? Like,
yes.
that was something that I distinctly remember. And like, grape in general was always referred to as something that, if it happens, it's because effectively a boy lost his mind.
Yeah, couldn't contain himself.
He couldn't control himself
because of what you were doing.
Exactly.
It's a reaction, where in reality, it's a choice that is made to choose to assault someone.
Exactly. But and the bad part about it is like, when that is discussed in that way, people like me, who like, I would never consider doing that
right.
at all. I don't care what she's dressed like. Like, this person could be wearing like pasties and a fucking like a thong and like a leaf G-string and just like wiggling her butt at me seductively. And until she gives me like the go ahead,
right,
there's nothing that I'm gonna try to do. I'm gonna want to. Don't get me wrong.
And wanting
like,
is fine.
Yeah, but wanting it's like
is one thing.
But like, when you treat it as if it's something that, like, if you lose yourself, then that's the only way that it happens.
People aren't held accountable.
Exactly. One, people aren't held accountable, and two, you never think of it as something that you're actively choosing. Right. It's something that it's like, your mind is going to be gone or whatever.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, for somebody like me, that gave me a fear of like being around uh, female or girls, women, and all of that kind of
Right.
stuff in situations where I may lose my mind or whatever.
Right.
Fast forward to me being 14 and bursting into one of my friends' like bedroom where I didn't realize that her younger sister, and her just back from college sister were all changing into their bathing suits.
Right.
And I walked in on all of them completely in the buff. 14-year-old James was, hey, 14, like we were, sorry, and then closed the door.
Right.
But like even in that moment, it was like, oh God, I could have lost my mind in there.
And you felt like that could have happened.
Yeah, like I felt like I could have been somebody
so
that would do that.
Someone teaching you, you are in full control of yourself. You know how to emotionally regulate. I've parroted that, or I've shown you that, so you can parrot that back. Mm-hmm. You're told you don't have you're just you don't have boy. You don't have the ability to control yourself.
Exactly.
Or your emotions. So it creates that fear dynamic with emotions and with like these dynamics they're a little tricky. I mean, it's hard as a young man, I'm sure, to walk into a room full of naked ladies, and in your head, what do I do? Like you've never been told how to respond in that situation. Mm-hmm. You've never been. No one's expressed to you that you are fully in control.
Well, and I've been told in those situations that it's no wonder that it happened. Look at how they were dressed. Look at how they were presenting and all that. And that's one of the things that I think really needs to change as far as like our society, as far as we like the way we socialize young boys, is we need to bring these things up specifically, directly, and name them.
Yeah.
And put them in a position, and put them in the boys into a position where they can recognize that while yes, you may have an urge, you're the one that can stop that.
Exactly.
You can actively prevent yourself from doing that.
Yeah.
And I say this knowing that, frankly, the way that we prosecute people who choose those things and make those active decisions is completely and totally what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't meet the level with which it actually happens.
Yeah, you're in jail for life for selling weed, but if you rape a 13-year-old, you just get put on a list and you're in jail for like... I knew a girl who raped a 13-year-old boy.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know, obviously, initially. And then she said, well, I just have to tell you, da-da-da-da. Never spoke to her again.
Yeah.
But she was in jail for 2 years.
I'm shocked it was that long, frankly.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, and let's not even...
13.
Let's not forget Brock Turner. We all should remember Brock Turner if we're of an age. You get caught behind a dumpster mid-act by multiple people who had to pull you off. No probation, no jail time added to the list.
Because he's just a boy.
You don't want to ruin his future.
Don't want to ruin his future.
You don't want to ruin his future.
Oh, fuck his future.
Yeah, right. I mean... like let's not think about the future of his victims.
Right.
Yeah, But anyway, Brock Turner still lives in Columbus, Ohio. If you feel like looking him up, you absolutely should. If his address has been updated, don't worry, Brock. We'll let the world know.
Yes, someone will find it.
Because he's on the list. Like I have a Facebook group that I'm a part of that it's called Rapist Brock Turner's Location, and
that is phenomenal.
They update it every single time that the SA offender list updates.
Wow.
And every single time, if you find me on Facebook, if you look back, I don't know if you can do like a keyword search or anything, but if you do a keyword search on Brock Turner, you will see every time that motherfucker has moved, I have made a post about it. Because if the government and the law and our broken criminal justice system will not do something about these men, then we as men have to hold them accountable ourselves.
And that's the reality. I think that being a man also has to do a lot with the community. Being a good man is being involved in your community, teaching boys that may not have fathers. I know that,
which is a huge problem.
Yeah, and I know that my own like grandpa figure, I should say, I was so clocky when he met me, and all he ever called me was boy, son. He was a real old man.
Yeah,
and he is. He hasn't died yet, so I don't know what I'm saying was, but yeah. He is like the one person that never even he didn't even ask me about it. What's your name, son? I said Eddie. He said, okay, Eddie. Well, you work here now. He was my boss at one point. And that's how good of a man he was. That he was my boss and never once made me feel like he was my boss. You know.
Yeah.
And it's people like that that we need more of in our community. As a man, it's kind of our responsibility and our due diligence to make sure that we are holding each other accountable.
For sure.
We
for
don't.
Sure.
I don't play the game with dudes that I meet who go, well, girls just have you heard they'll blame you they'll accuse you of rape and
Oh,
stuff
yeah, the
just
false accusations
right.
because they regret the decision of
I have
sleeping with
blocked
you.
so many individuals I met. They seem like the nicest people, right? And just when you get to know them, you come to understand their brain. And when I there's a few I've tried to have a conversation with.
Yeah.
Usually doesn't work out because that's how that thought process, that mindset benefits them
100%.
and it benefits the patriarchy is what I should say, because it doesn't directly benefit them, because God forbid they're put in a situation where they're accusing a man of something.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I thought about what, but and that's a whole thing is it's just too much.
I know that we use the P word.
What?
I know that's scary, guys.
The patriarchy.
I know it's scary.
Guys, look, it doesn't.
We waited an hour to say it. We waited an hour to say it.
You have to by now understand.
That was that word I was avoiding earlier.
It's really.
Yeah, whenever I was like, "There's a system in place, and it has a name, but we're not going to say it because it's scary."
And I know it's scary, but being against the patriarchy is not being against men.
Yeah.
At all.
It's being against the systems that oppress both men and women.
And that's something that we have to come to realize, that system goes directly against men and a man's ability to express himself.
Well, and part of it too is it stifles what we can be and how we can be.
That very first question you asked, what is a man?
Yeah, and like it prevents the expression of manhood and manliness and masculinity, and it narrows that into a very, very a very small set of characteristics and actions and ways of being and modes of being that limits how we can express ourselves
in the masculinity.
Yeah, and how we can exist in the world and be comfortable. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, there is a lot of ways and modes of being that I would have loved to have had access to, and I would love to be able to have access to them now. But because of those expectations from that system, I don't feel that any of those are accessible to me, because that's not manly. That's not what men do. And the fact of that we even have a conceptualization of that's not what men do is absolutely ridiculous. Because to me, what makes a man is the ability to be within himself, feel a sense of self and comfort that gives them a energy that makes other people around them feel comfortable. Being a man, to me, is based in providing. And for some men, that providing comes in the form of monetary gain. It comes in the form of working and all that kind of stuff. For other men, and frankly, I feel like all of these things should be done, but that's beside the point. For others, it is giving their family a sense of protection. It is providing a sense of safety and security. And some men express that through being tough, going to the gym, getting big, getting swole, so that their lady friend feels fucking protected whenever they go out on the town or whatever. And for some men, that is creating a comfortable and safe household where people can exist and thrive. And like all of those are perfectly acceptable expressions of that. So one question that I do have as we're kind of wrapping things up is, when you think of like the quintessential man example, like who do you believe, or what do you believe would be the perfect example of what you consider to be a manly, masculine man?
There's There's a show called Sex Education.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know what his name is. I'm gonna put a picture of him up, but he was like the baby daddy slash at points partner to the mother in that show, and he was so graceful. He never really raised his voice. He was a calm presence. Just looking at him, I mean, this is a show. It's not even reality, but just
Yeah.
looking at him, I just felt like he was such a safe character. And so the quintessential man to me is someone who has a big presence and doesn't throw it in your face.
Okay.
Someone who you know you're safe with, someone who you know would protect you and would be there for you emotionally, physically, monetarily, honestly. That's
Mm-hmm.
I feel that way too whenever I'm like going on a date. I'm like, I'm paying, like I don't
Yeah.
care. That's me. But and that might be more traditional, but I'm not traditional in the way of, well, if I'm paying for the date, you got to pay, with whatever. I think that it's delivering these things and
Mm-hmm.
providing these things without that expectation of
Yeah.
return. It's doing it because you want someone to feel comfort
It's giving
around
of
you.
yourself without expectation of return.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think I kind of I agree with basically all of that. And I find it really interesting that or most of the trans men that I've talked to in my life have a presentation or or provide an example through themselves of masculinity that fits so perfectly in line with what I have seen as traditional masculinity.
Yeah.
I found it funny when you said that, like, when you go on dates, you're like, no, I'm paying. And like that is such a quintessentially like dude mentality to have.
Yeah.
And like to me, like that was an expectation that my grandfather set for me back in the day, was that it's like, if you're going on a date with a lady, then you pay. You open the door, you pull out the chair, you do all of these like respectful things and shit like that.
The chivalry.
There it is. And like most dudes that I know who were born and socialized as dudes don't really follow those anymore, and they don't really feel like chivalry is necessary or even
It's
fun
cringe.
to
It's
do.
yeah.
Yeah, some even some find it fucking cringe, or simping.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. No,
and
I'm a yearner. I don't care.
we must
Yes,
yearn, guys. We
yes.
really got to learn to yearn.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
telling you.
but no, and it's like, but then like I see and I talk to trans men and they're just like, no, like chivalry's fucking great. Like, of course I'm gonna fucking do that because that's
Yes.
fucking awesome.
That's masculinity. That is
Exactly.
that's how we prove and show and express that that reality that
For
who we are.
sure. And I find it interesting, and I think this is the point that I'm gonna end on, at least, is that we owe it to ourselves as men who were socialized men, and as men who were born that way. Um, we owe it to ourselves to, at the very least, expand our definition of what men are, to include the people who may have been socialized female whenever they started out. Because I'm gonna be real, guys. Trans men put you on game like nobody's business.
We got that shit on lock.
Like,
I'm telling you.
like
We study it for years. Of course we're
I mean that aspect of it too. But honestly, like, if you are a cis het dude, if you are a born man, been a man your whole life, and you're straight, and you are trying to like find the secret of like how to get in good with some women and such like that, trans homie's the best wingman you can fucking have.
telling you.
Cause man, those dudes got the secrets. They they
We
they
literally were the secret.
they lived that life for a little while,
And
so
it
they know
helps.
exactly what it is that
Yes.
can make women feel comfortable, that can make people in general make people feel comfortable.
And
Yeah.
I'd like to end on the note of don't be afraid to ask people questions. Anyone, but specifically trans people. That doesn't mean go up and say, "Do you still got a vagina?"
There
Don't do shit like that. But, to say, "Hey, I'm trying to gain insight into your reality, your perspectives. I'd really like to sit down and have a conversation with you one day." That is the most respectful and and perfect way to ask that question, and at the same time you're going to get a perspective that you may not have otherwise had. And these open conversations are what we need to have, not only just with trans men but with men, period. And come ask your friends if they're doing okay. Ask your buddies if they're, is it still Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, or was it last month? Is it this month?
I think it's this month. Yeah,
Okay, this
I
month.
think it is November.
It's, as while we're filming this, it's November, and it's important. I mean, I will say, since transitioning, people don't like compliment things of that nature. Men don't get stuff as much like that. So tell your bros, "Hey, you look handsome today, fella." So, go out of your way to be vulnerable, because it will help bring us together.
For sure. And at the end of the day, it's like what I said at the very beginning of this whole thing. They're wanting to be on our team, so it behooves us to add players to our side who want to be there. Because right now, if red pill content, if manosphere content is any indication, men in society, we very much feel as if we are on the defensive most of the time. And why in the hell would we try and negate the absolute benefit of the people who want to join our team from the other side? Why would we try and remove them from the conversation when they're the ones who are actively choosing to be what we are seemingly in this society being perceived as being the negative? Why is it that we are trying ostracize? That's the fucking word I'm
There
looking
you
for.
go.
God damn it! Why are we trying to ostracize the people who have actively done the work, done the research, and figured out that, like, hey, being a dude's pretty fucking cool, and like, I want to be a part of that. Eddie, thanks, man.
Thank you.
I really.
It's been
Actually, before I do this, I need to also say to your fucking comment of ask questions of trans men. I'll be real honest with you. That's a great idea. It's a super good idea. Don't just randomly ask random men.
True.
If it's the same as every dude you ever dealt with in your life, if you aren't comfortable with that person that you would ask them something like this, don't fucking ask it. You have to
Real.
build a foundation.
Yeah, that one. You can't be vulnerable with a stranger, guys. It's a little odd.
I mean, you can,
if you want,
but it doesn't work out.
Yeah, good luck.
At least 80%. Eddie, thank you so much
Thank you
for having this conversation with me.
Of course.
I believe you provided a whole lot of insights that I hadn't considered, and through our meandering conversation, I feel like we've gotten some pretty good things out.
I agree.
So yeah, thanks for watching. Fellows, take care of yourselves. Check in with your homies, and in general, be the type of man that you want to be, and be the type of man that you need.
That's
Because
good.
we need them, and we need you.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video or listening to this audio if you're listening to the podcast. I just wanted to pop on to properly credit that the music is Chillin' Hard by Kevin MacLeod. He's super cool, has an awesome website, and we will be including his full URL in the description of whatever website you are watching this off of. Thank you so much again for watching or listening, and have a good day.